Hello there, and welcome to my channel. Today, I thought I'd take a look at upgrading firmware on a Nikon digital SLR. So a couple of days ago, I got an email from Mr. Nikon telling me that there's a new firmware upgrade available for my D7500. So I thought we'll use this opportunity to go through the motions of that if you haven't done that before. So a couple of things to do before we start looking at downloading the software and installing that. First of all, you want to make a note of what your firmware on your Nikon camera currently is. And once we've done that, we'll then format the card, put the card in your computer, and then we'll go through getting you the software. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to check the firmware version that you've got. And to do that, if you go into your menu setup, and excuse me, turning my back on you, if I switch on the menu, you go into setup menu, which is the little spanner icon. And if you scroll through there, if I scroll up, you'll see we've got firmware version. Now, if I click OK to that, you'll see the versions that you've got. I've got 3 installed on this camera. Yours might be slightly different, but if you make a quick note of what you've got there, and then we can compare it with what we've done afterwards. Okay, so we've made a note of that. Next thing to do would be to shut down the camera, take out the SD card, which you've already formatted. It needs to be formatted before you start, and insert that into your computer. So assuming that's done, let's move on. So next thing you want to do is you want to get the Nikon firmware for your particular camera. So I was quite lucky. I got a link from Mr. Nikon that would take me straight to it, but we'll do it the long way, so to make it more generic. Okay, so if we type in Nikon Download Center, you can see I've been there before. So that's where you want to go, Nikon Download Center. Click on that and enter that website. Okay, nice and easy. Now all we need to do is start typing in the model number of your Nikon camera. I've got the D7500, so if I start typing D75, it's going to throw up the correct camera for me, and I just click on search. Give that a moment. Give it another moment. Okay, there we go. So what we've got here now, we've got a few different things that we could download available from the download center. We're interested in firmware for, in this case, for the D7500. So I just click on the firmware button, and immediately I get 2 options. There are 2 files that I can download. There's the camera's firmware, and there's some kind of distortion control firmware which we can also download. So we'll download both of these and try to install them on my camera, and we'll see what happens. So all we need to do, click on the view download page. There we go. Select your operating system. I'm using Windows. Come down to the bottom of that. There'll be you have to accept the license agreement, and click on download and give that a moment. Okay, so that's downloaded. I'm just going to go into the folder. It's gone to my downloads folder, and what we can see here, it's downloaded an executable file. So this is not the file we want. This is just zipped up the files that we need. So what we'll do is we'll take a copy of this. So I'm just going to click on it and select copy, and I'm going to put it in a folder on my computer and then we'll go back to the other file that we saw a moment ago and we'll make a copy of that. So I'm just going to go to this. I've created a little folder called Nikon D7500, and I'm going to paste that executable in there. Give that a moment. Okay. It's an important point that the files that you that we want to put onto our camera must be a .bin file. No other files should go on. So what I'll do now is I'm going to double click on this executable, and hopefully that's going to open up and produce the files that we want. And there we see we've got one bin file. Worth noting, if you can't see the suffix to your file, i.e. if you don't see the .bin in Windows, then you need to come up here to View, come over to the right and click on the file name extensions so that you can see the full title of the file. Okay, let's go back to where we were. Right, okay, so we've got that bin file. I'm just going to copy that onto the root of this folder. So that's the file I want. These were the two files that we've downloaded. I don't need those. Oops, beg pardon. I don't need these two files, so I'm going to delete that. I'm only interested in the bin file. Okay, we'll come away from that for a second and we'll go back to, I'm just going to back page to the firmware. And we're going to look at this second file here, the distortion control data file that it's also offering us. So same as before, I'm going to view the download page, make sure it's selected on Windows, come down the bottom, sign the user agreement and select download. Same as before, give it a moment. Okay, so we've now got a new file. I'm going to click on the folder there just to see the whole thing. Same as before, I'm going to right click on it and copy it. Then I'm going to go back to my folder where I've got my existing bin file, and I'm going to paste that in there as well. Say yes to that. I'm going to open up this executable, open up the folder that it's just now extracted, and we've got this bin file here, which is what we want. So I'm just going to make a copy of that, just to make this a little bit easier. Go back into here, paste that there. So we can now see we've got two bin files, and just for the sake of neatness, I'm just going to get rid of these two because I don't need them anymore. Say yes to that. So I'm left with the two bin files. So if I do Control A and then Control C to copy that, I'm now going to copy that into the SD card that I've put into the into my computer. And as I mentioned before, that card has to be formatted in your camera, so there's nothing else on it. So if I scroll down here somewhere, I should see my SD card, and there we go. You'll see that there are two folders there already. You don't put these files in there. It goes on the root, so it goes immediately where we've opened this up. So if I paste those files there, we're now ready to go. So I'll now close that down. We'll take the SD card out, and I'll now shove it back into the camera, switch camera on, and then we'll see if we can do the install. So just going to remove SD card and install into my okay. Right, so if I select menu and then go to the right you see now we've got an option there to update, which we didn't see before when we first looked in, because there are now new files in there that weren't there before. So if I come down one and click on OK, and it's showing there that there's going to be two updates to be done. One's the camera body and one's that internal lens data. So it has seen both files, which is it's a good place to be. So it's highlighting on camera body now. So I'm going to select OK to confirm. And then we wait, and it warns you not to do anything else with this camera while this is going on. Not that I would think that you would want to, but so we now just wait a moment for that to happen. Just to mention, when this is finished, and hopefully the update's been successful, don't forget that we've got a couple of files there now on that SD card. So I would recommend, once you've done your upgrade, reformat that card again to get rid of those files, and then you'll be good to go. So, I think this is going to take a moment, so I'll put this on pause and come back towards the end. Save you hang around watching my face. Okay, so the first one is now done. I can see that you can't see that on the screen above, but I've now got a warning that the update has been completed and to turn off the camera. So I'll do that. And what I'll do now is I'll go back into the menu. I'll go back to the firmware version. I'm going to go back to the update to do the second file. And now come down and selected the camera lens data update. I'm going to select OK to that. I'm going to say yes to that. And that will start downloading now. And that's gone through. Update complete, turn off camera. So I'll switch off the camera and switch it back on. And now, just to check we've been successful, if I go back into my menu, and if I go back to the firmware version, we are now on C111. We were 1 before. LD2 was 16 before, it's now 18. And the S5001 is the same. So it's updated to those elements. So that's been pretty successful. One thing I forgot to mention, whenever you're doing this, is to ensure that your batteries are fully charged too. But apart from that, that wasn't too difficult. I'll put a link to the Nikon download center into this post if you find that helpful. And yeah, I think that's about it. So I hope you found this useful. If you haven't done this, I would check. I got an email telling me mine that an upgrade was available to me because my camera was registered with Nikon. If yours isn't, then I'd recommend maybe checking once, twice a year to see from the download center to see if there are any updates available for your cameras. So there you go. I hope you found this useful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for your time and have a good day, and goodbye.